to say a few words, show a bit of sympathy for her tonight, because she has had an accident, she's hurt her leg, and she's not feeling the best of form. So put your hands together, please, and welcome.
It is really a tremendous pleasure to be in Ballymoney, and I have to say, of the various rallies and meetings that we've done over the past couple of months, Ballymoney is the first place where it hasn't been raining, and it's a lovely, lovely evening. So I'm very pleased to be here. I'm also pleased to be sharing the platform tonight with the two pro-union, anti-protocol leaders of unionism, Jim Allister and Sir Geoffrey Donaldson. I keep thinking that sometimes when I'm at one of these rallies, at the last minute, somebody called Doug Beattie might rush up and be on the platform. But that hasn't happened so far. And I'm also absolutely delighted that Ben Habib is here again. I mean, Ben is one of those people without whom we would not have taken the legal action. He has come over every rally from London at his own expense. He is totally committed to oppose the protocol and has done so much on the mainland to really get the message across. So it's really good to have Ben here tonight. And never wanted to follow Jim Allister after he's spoken, but having to follow Jamie Bryson tonight is making me feel that actually Jim's got a rival coming up. And I want to say that Jamie, the work he has done, particularly legally over the past few months, has been really, really important. And if he is an example of the newer generation of young pro-union loyalists, then I think this country should be very, very proud of that. And I want to say, for Brexit. I wanted to see Brexit. I still think that it's the best thing that could happen to the United Kingdom. But I, like all of you here, had a ballot paper which said, did you want the United Kingdom to leave the European Union? It didn't have a little map with a bracket saying, except for Northern Ireland, did it? So I voted to leave. You who voted to leave, and those who voted to remain perhaps, no one wanted the protocol. No one was voting for the protocol. Not a single person in Northern Ireland voted for the protocol. And I'm rather fed up with those people in, for example, the Alliance Party, who keep trying to ignore the protocol and talk about Brexit. Northern Ireland did not get Brexit. That's the problem. We didn't get it. We were left with the protocol. So let's put that right out of the way. I also have to say that unlike both Jim and Sir Geoffrey, I did support the Belfast Agreement back in 1998. I was torn. I thought I didn't like an awful lot about it, but like many of you here tonight, you probably did vote for the Belfast Agreement. And you voted for it, and I supported it, because it had that principle, that underlying absolute principle of the consent of the people of Northern Ireland to any change in their future constitutional status. We thought consent meant consent. And what we have seen more recently, and indeed over many years now, but particularly recently, that principle of consent being whittled away piece by piece. First of all, there was the situation where suddenly the cross-community aspect of the Belfast Agreement was changed, so that when it comes to, hopefully the protocol will have well gone by then, and if it hasn't gone, there won't be an assembly to vote in 2024. But if there did have to be a vote, it now has to not be by cross-community consent. Everything else has to be done that's important. But the most important issue is changed just like that to get rid of the cross-community consent. And then we saw what the appeal court said, that consent didn't really matter, because ultimately, as Jamie said, the end product, as long as we still are officially, constitutionally, officially in the United Kingdom, everything else can be taken away. everything can be changed, but ultimately the consent principle has gone. So I have absolutely no sorrow at all in saying that I'm sorry I voted for the Belfast Agreement, and I think there's an awful lot of people who are also sorry, and I think we owe voted thanks to those who knew that it was. I have to say tonight, that I do feel coming back now to live in Northern Ireland, having been away and being in London, but keeping an eye on what was happening, and always keeping an interest in particularly the Northern Ireland football team, which I always try to get to every match. I do genuinely feel now, and I know it's been said in the past, but I genuinely feel that Northern Ireland is facing a huge crisis. And we are at a very, very important time in our history. We have these elections coming up in May, and I know it's very easy for political parties to blame other political parties. I've done it all my life in terms of Parliament. It's always somebody else's fault. But I think in these elections we really have to look at the big picture, and we have to put our country before our party. And if that means that you have to vote sometimes, particularly in this particular election where you vote 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, if you have to sometimes then kind of almost close your eyes, but actually vote for a candidate maybe you don't like at all, or for a party you're not very fond of. But if it's a pro-union, anti-protocol party, then you must make sure your vote is passed down. That is the only way that we can ensure that the pro-union members will be elected, and that's a very, very important part of what is coming up in May. And of course, what to me, again, I've seen coming back home, there's absolutely no doubt about it that unionism as a whole, I think over the past number of years, has been too willing to compromise, too willing to give in, too willing to sometimes accept something that they really deep down know they shouldn't be. And underlining that is that some of the unionist parties' members have perhaps been more keen in being in power than actually doing what was the right thing. So I support the parties that have said that they will not go back into the Assembly until the protocol has gone. That has to be. Member of any unionist party or any person who feels that they support the union can actually not see that going back in and leaving the protocol as it is just confirming and establishing that we are prepared to accept the protocol. So that cannot happen. It has to be the basic principle of people going into this election. And as for parties that have talked about rigorously implementing the protocol, well, even they seem to change slightly and are now talking about making some changes. Well, for me, and I think for most of you here, tinkering with the protocol is not enough. We don't want just a fewer checks. We don't want just a little bit of putting off more grace periods. And remember, not all of the protocol is being implemented at the moment. We're only seeing the bits that they've had to go ahead with. And sooner or later, those grace periods will come back. And then we will really see the difference to our economy, to our business, and to our cost of living. And you look at what happened this week in Parliament, where the Chancellor of the Exchequer had to come to the Parliament and actually admit that he wanted to reduce VAT, which we can now do because we've left the European Union, to zero on energy, green energy. But he had to actually say you can't do it in Northern Ireland because the European Union is controlling what is happening on our trading issues. We cannot allow a situation where, as Jim Allister has said from the beginning, a foreign power is ruling us with a foreign court. That just cannot be acceptable. And as I said before, any pro-union person could not possibly accept that. So my message really today is thank you all for turning up, for coming up, for speaking out. Every single one of you can make a difference. Every single one of you can talk to your neighbours, to your friends, explain the importance of this election. Please make sure that everyone comes out and votes. I'm always horrified, genuinely horrified, how at some elections in Northern Ireland, so many people from the pro-union community don't bother to vote. You may not like the political parties, you may not like their leaders, but there is no alternative to actually using your vote and using your vote in a way that is going to say to the Prime Minister, to the British government generally, and to the Irish government in particular, the protocol is not sustainable, and we are going to continue to do what we can to get rid of it, and that is our message, and the message has to be heard loud and clear on May the 5th. Thank you.